What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Good morning. We're waiting on the live Kash Patel Senate confirmation hearing. So uh, we're just getting set up. We're waiting on RSBN, which we're going to be streaming it from their channel. And we're just waiting for them to get their stream started. It'll probably be here in the next few minutes. So we really appreciate you tuning in today. It's going to be a barn burner today of a confirmation hearing. I know that the Democrats are chomping at the bits, ready to ask him questions, as we saw last time with Christy Naomi during her confirmation hearing. You could see that they were getting ready for their questions for Mr. Patel. So it's going to be an interesting confirmation hearing, and I'm looking forward to it. So appreciate you guys tuning in and watching this with me. We'll be watching the whole confirmation hearing today, and I'm looking forward to it. So awesome. Good morning. I'm going to step away for a second, grab me something to drink, and get ready. And I'll be back when this starts. Check 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2, 3. Good morning, everybody. Just a reminder, we're waiting on the Kash Patel Senate confirmation hearing to be starting live here pretty soon. I think it's going to start live at 9:30. We're just waiting for the broadcast to begin from Right Side Broadcast Network. Big shout out to them for allowing us to stream their live feed to you guys as well. So we'll be bringing you the whole confirmation hearing today, live with our own commentary, and it's going to be a fun one. I know that the Democrats are anxious to get at Kash Patel, and I'm sure Kash is anxious to reply to all their questions. And they're going to have some crazy questions. It's going to get a little wild today. It should be a fun hearing. It's going to be a little cringe worthy at times, I imagine. But Cash is he's in this position for a reason. He can handle this. That's why we want him to be in charge of the FBI. So check, check, check. Just having a little audio problems here. We're getting it figured out. Since everybody's just waiting right now, a quick little tidbit. I also have another YouTube channel where I do music reactions. It's called Area 67 Music. Go check it out. I got about 4,500 subscribers there. We have a good time checking out lots of cool guitar, drum, bass, keyboard covers of songs that are popular songs and other musicians like to cover and show off their skills. So we like to do reactions to those. So go check out that channel if you don't mind. Just a little uh, something to let you guys know what's going on. All right, it looks like everything is working fairly well. The audio is working, the video is streaming pretty decently, and we are just waiting. It looks like it's 9:19 right now, and we're about 10 minutes out. Waiting on Right Side Broadcasting to go ahead and start their stream. And as soon as they do, we will be in the room and the Senate confirmation hearing ready to get this confirmation hearing started. I'm anxious for this one. I've been waiting about 2 weeks for this one. How many of y'all out there are fans of Kash Patel? If you are, drop a comment in the comment section, or a like, or a 47. Drop a 47 in the comments if you're a Kash Patel supporter. And if you're tuned in, we're working on trying to reach our first goal of 500 followers, and we'd really like to reach that goal before the end of the month. So we got a couple of days left. Let's put that out there. Let's get to that 500. I'm gonna step away real quick. I know I've said that about 4 times already, but here we go. All right, it looks like they're on. I'm gonna step out for just 1 second. I'll be right back before we get started. Here we go.
hopefully he gets it because he'll do great, I think, at the FBI.
Well, and there were fireworks. Was sworn in yesterday and hitting the ground running after a 77-29 confirmation vote, sworn in by Vice President J.D. Vance. And what a first day on the job.
With the U.S. Army when it comes to the Black Hawk helicopter, if there's any statement there, as again, President Trump wondering how this all could happen, according to his Truth Social post as well. So we'll be covering that story, but definitely, of course, right here with the Kash Patel Senate hearing, which will start in about maybe a minute from now if it starts on time. We'll go there live right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. As you know, it's been quite the busy week.
Well, it has. And last night, apparently clear skies over Washington, D.C., Virginia, and also Maryland. If you've been living in that area or visited, even recently, you realize that so many helicopters and regular practices with our military. Of course, right there, you have Joint Base Andrews and BWI, also DCA, Washington Reagan, which the flight was intended to land there, but Mayor Bowser of Washington, D.C., and Mayor Wu of Wichita, Kansas, and Wichita, a very tight-knit, lovely community, also a large military presence there as well. really speaking to the bipartisan efforts to find what happened, but to keep everyone in our thoughts and prayers, with additional services being provided
Looks like we might
with
have
many
it now.
denominations. So communities coming together, and Mayor Wu saying that Wichita and DC will be forever united in this tragedy. So we hope to have answers soon, but we'll stay with you here at Right Side Broadcasting Live to make sure you have all the up-to-date information as it breaks.
And you're looking live on a split screen there on the left side of your screen. That is the feed that we'll go to in just a second for the Kash Patel Senate hearing. This all brought to you by some great sponsors, including the Colonial Metals Group. This is the free gold guide. So just go to freegoldguide.com/RSBN. Get a lot of great information on the backup plan through tax sheltered IRAs or 401ks as well.
Yes, and scan your QR code now for ultimate savings, but also how to convert your 401k or IRA or properties and assets into gold, silver, tangible metals. Really something that's not solely a privilege nowadays, but really you should have it in your back pocket, because with Biden and the inflation that's taken place in the last few years, it's harder to retire nowadays.
Exactly. So freegoldguide.com, also brought to you by Tax Network USA, 800-357-1415. Every time there's a question that might come up about your past taxes, say you missed a few years, these guys can help you out. So it's tnusa.com/RSBN, a great sponsor here at the network. 800-357-1415 is that number.
And it's really a wonderful thing to be focused on, as you know, the April 15th deadline right around the corner. So tnusa.com/RSBN. Make sure you are ahead on your back taxes and just taxes in general. So many people overpay on accident. You want to make sure that you.
Oh my God, I just found out that my data is all over the dark web. So I found this tool that does a scan of the dark web and shows you if your info is being exposed and sold by scammers. And guess what? A ton of sensitive details like my passwords were out there. I was freaking out. Thanks to Guardio, I now know where my information is and what to do about it. And it's super fast. It takes like literal seconds. Guardio also alerts you in real time about these data leaks, blocks phishing sites, fake texts, and flags malicious emails. Run the scan now. It's free.
We've been telling clients it's nearly impossible to sell a home in winter. Not true. I just help them sell directly to Open Door. It's hassle-free. Wait, this isn't going on the internet, is it? Oh.
It's true. Open Door makes selling easy in any season.
Has full access to her and full access to the best spokesperson for the White House, and that's President Donald Trump, and perhaps his greatest pick when it comes to intelligence and transparency. Kash Patel, he's an expert at it. You might remember him from the documentary about the plot against the president, and Lee Smith's book. We know that if it wasn't for Congressman Devin Nunes and Kash Patel, who worked closely with him, the Steele dossier would not have been revealed to be a hoax, the Russia hoax. We remember that from 8 short years ago, when the intelligence community was weaponized against President Trump and his first administration.
And we will see if Kash Patel makes any comment sharing condolences for yesterday's tragedy, as well. Airlines passenger plane, regional jet, collided with the helicopter, the Black Hawk helicopter. President Trump saying, quote, "The airplane was on a perfect and routine line of approach to the airport. The helicopter was going straight at the airplane for an extended period of time. It is and was a clear night. The lights on the plane were blazing. Why didn't the helicopter go up or down or turn? Why didn't the control tower tell the helicopter what to do instead of asking if they saw the plane?"
And that's how you use CRMs. Questions?
Or you can just
Do we lose volume on the feed, or what's going on here? Don't seem to hear anything. I'm sure RSP, and we'll have it back up here soon. Of course, I'm not hearing anything. Maybe closed captions was a good idea to have on, huh? Because we're not hearing anything right now. I'm not getting any audio. Go and find the feed real quick and see, make sure that it's. So it looks like the feed is also doesn't have any volume. Let me see if I can find a better feed. But we have permission from RSBN to stream this feed. So let's see if we can figure out what's going on.
Submitted over 1,000 pages of records to the committee, over 1,000
Finally, here we
individual interviews, and many hundreds of hours of media. Thank you. I thank your family for coming. I know some of them had traveled to get here, and I know they're very proud of you, and I determined that by looking them in the face. Public trust in the FBI
Now we have
is
volume,
low.
but no video.
Only 41% of the American
They're gonna
people
get it
think
together.
the FBI is doing a good job. This is the lowest rating in a century. It's no surprise that public trust has declined in an institution that has been plagued by abuse, lack of transparency, and weaponization of law enforcement. Nevertheless,
That's
the
right.
FBI remains an important, even indispensable institution for law and order in our country. It's
Let's
the
go right
people
side.
on the top floor of the J. Edgar Hoover building, not your local FBI agents, that have caused the low approval rating. Mr. Patel, I know you know this, but it's your
Yay, we're
job
back.
to restore the public trust
Audio and
and
video,
return
and
the
it's synced
FBI
up
to its
finally.
core mission of fighting crime. Your extensive background gives you a unique position to make this happen. Mr. Patel's career has been a study in fighting unpopular but righteous causes exposing corruption and putting America first.
Exposing
For almost a
corruption.
decade, Mr. Patel served as a public defender, defending the constitutional rights of some of the least popular people in this country.
Wow.
After serving as a public defender, Mr. Patel joined the Department of Justice under President Obama as a counterterrorism prosecutor in the National Security Division. In this role, he investigated and he prosecuted many important cases, including the World Cup bombing in Uganda in 2010, for which he received an award of excellence. In 2017, Representative Devin Nunes asked Mr. Patel to join the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence to uncover the truth about Russiagate. And Mr. Patel did uncover the truth. It was during this period of time that, if you remember, I first met you, Mr. Patel. Through tireless works, Mr. Patel showed that Crossfire Hurricane was based upon fraudulent, discredited information paid for by the Democratic National Committee and the Clinton campaign. As reward for his efforts to uncover the truth, mainstream media, can you believe this, personally attacked Mr. Patel, and the FBI secretly subpoenaed his records.
I can't
Now, I know what that is because my staff received similar treating during my investigation. The attacks Mr. Patel faced during his work in the House of Representatives are similar to the ones that he faces today. I expect many of these underhanded attacks will be repeated today. Mr. Patel has been accused of,
I'm sure these attacks are going to go crazy
having
today.
quote unquote
everybody is ready.
an enemies list. This is not a fair characterization, as he stated, quote, "There's no revenge list," end of quote. Mr. Patel has identified those he believes have put politics and personal ambition over service to the country. He's called out those who've used the institutions like the FBI to achieve their own personal gain. Mr. Patel has said he believes that people who do this should be named and that Americans deserve transparency.
Absolutely.
So that they can make their own judgment, as they did in this last election. Other attacks against Mr. Patel are similarly unfounded. To take just one example, he's been accused of jeopardizing hostage rescues. In fact, those allegations have been repeatedly shown to be false smears. As numerous national security officials have said publicly and on the record, Mr. Patel played a critical role in returning Americans safely home and has done so through hard work and personal cost to him. Mr. Patel has been accused of being unqualified to be FBI director. This suggestion ignores his impressive career at the highest levels of government service. After exposing Russiagate scandal in the Congress, Mr. Patel served in roles such as Senior Director, Counterterrorism at the National Security Council, Deputy Director of National Intelligence, and Chief of Staff to the Acting Secretary of Defense. Mr. Patel managed large intelligence and defense bureaucracies, identified and countered national security threats, prosecuted and defended criminals. He's done this while fighting for transparency and accountability in the government. Mr. Patel has precisely the qualifications we need at this time when the FBI is not being respected by our public.
Candidate for this job,
Mr. Patel, should you be confirmed
any different? I don't know.
You'll take charge
what you're
of an FBI that is in crisis. Recently, my oversight exposed that a special agent in charge of the
Scream it,
FBI
baby,
New
scream it.
Orleans field office was on vacation during New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Of course, that was also included the Sugar Bowl. Senior personnel should be at their posts, not on vacation, during critical security events. And we all remember what happened at that time in New Orleans. But of course, this FBI agent would find it acceptable to do what he did. In August
right.
2022, an FBI oversight hearing of this committee, Director Wray decided to leave early. I asked him to stay just 1 hour and 20 minutes longer, but he already made up his mind that he was going to leave. Later, under questioning in November of that year by Senator Hawley, Director Wray admitted that he left this committee hearing early so that he could go on vacation. These two incidents, among others, are examples of the blatant disrespect that the FBI leadership has shown to this committee and indirectly to the American people. In November 22, I released internal FBI records that my office received pursuant to lawful whistleblower disclosures. Those records provided data about how hundreds of FBI employees who had retired or resigned to avoid discipline, many of those employees engaged in sexual misconduct in the
Promises made,
workplace.
promises kept.
Those records also showed lower level FBI employees were punished. Lower level employees of the FBI were punished more harshly than senior level employees. No, fairness was out the window. Over 1 year later, with no response from the FBI, I asked Director Wray about this at a December 5, 23 hearing before this committee. He publicly pledged to get me the data I requested November, a year before. He and his deputy director never followed through. I also questioned Director Wray about improperly classified information relating to Afghan evacuees placed in our country. At that time, approximately 50 evacuees were already deemed potential national security concerns. So what's the number now? The public has a right to know. I've also raised concerns about whistleblower disclosure, saying that the FBI moved agents from child sex abuse cases to those January 6 cases.
Oh,
The
yeah.
FBI under Director
Those January
Wray
6ers are so much
never
more
got his priorities
of
straight.
criminals and the
With respect to
human
weaponization,
traffickers.
I'd
child
like
trafficking.
to turn to a letter I wrote July 20 of 2022. That letter noted that Assistant Special Agent in charge, Thibault, was a key official involved in opening the elector case that became the Jack Smith lawfare operation. That's not supposed to happen. An official at Thibault's rank and position isn't supposed to open cases. That's the job of special agents. For those who don't remember, Thibault was the anti-Trump agent that violated the Hatch Act for his political conduct in office. My letter also noted that Richard Pilger, who ran the Justice Department's election crime branch, was involved in the approval. Now I'd like to call the committee's attention to something I'm going to share with you, information about the FBI's that's never been made public before. Do you have those? Oh yeah, I'm sorry. In my hand are a series of FBI emails. The first is an email that Tebow sent to subordinate agent on February the 14th, 2022.
Dude back there was
He said, quote,
the book back around.
"Here's a draft opening language we discussed," end quote. The draft opening was attached and it included material that would later become part of Jack Smith's elector case. The second email, February 24th,
Get you a drink of water,
2022,
buddy. Get you a
email
drink of
from
water.
Tebow to John Crabb, a prosecutor in the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia, saying, quote, "I had a discussion with the case team and we believe there is predication to include former President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, as a predicated subject," end
There's
quote.
an R in that word.
This
It's not
FBI case would later be codenamed Arctic Frost. The
Arctic
third
Frost.
email,
Wow.
February 24th, 2022, email from Tebow to John Crabb, noting that the Attorney General and the FBI approval will be sought to open the case. The fourth email, February 25th, 2022, email from Tebow, subordinate agent, saying they added Trump and others as a criminal subject to the case. Tebow responded, quote unquote, "perfect." The fifth email, March 22, 2022, from Tebow, emailing a version of an investigative opening for approval.
I keep thinking of
This
Tim
didn't
Tebow.
include President Trump. I want to make clear that one didn't
I
include
know.
President Trump as a criminal subject. The sixth email is in April 11th, 2022, from Tebow approving the opening of Arctic Frost. The seventh email is an April 13th, 2022 email from FBI agent to Tebow stating that the FBI deputy director approved its opening. The eighth email on the same date had Tebow emailing John Crabb that the elector case was approved. Crabb responded, quote, "Thanks a lot. Let's talk next week," end quote. Between March 22nd and April 13th, other versions of the document opening the investigation existed because a ninth email shows that the FBI General Counsel Office made edits on March 25th. Was Trump still removed as an investigative subject? If so, which Justice Department FBI officials other than Jack Smith later added him for prosecution? I expect the production of all records on this matter to better understand the full fact pattern and whether other records exist. Notably, approval of these documents was also given by Richard Pilger. This committee has written about Pilger undermining the Justice Department's efforts during the 2020 election for partisan purposes. These emails and documents substantiate my July 2022 letter, which the FBI ignored. And I hope you, when you get there, won't ignore my letters. Partisan FBI agents and DOJ officials tried and ultimately succeeded in launching a full field criminal investigation and prosecution of the President of the United States. Justice Department and FBI leadership acted in concert to further a political scheme to take down Trump, just like they did with Crossfire Hurricane. They have yet to learn a lesson, and I hope you'll learn that lesson for them or teach that lesson. And their conduct, yet again, seriously eroded integrity of this once storied institution. As I've said before, if a politically charged investigation is to be open, it must be done the right way. And that didn't happen here. Mr. Patel, in my time, I've never seen our law enforcement intelligence community institution so badly infected with political decision-making. And I say intelligence community because you know what happened when 55 people, former or present intelligence agencies, signed a letter in 2020 that the laptop was a Russian hoax, as an example. So all of this is these institutions breaking faith with we the people. Mr. Patel, you must be fair, you must be consistent, but you must be aggressive. Your actions must be based on accountability. And transparency brings accountability. Should you do so, you'll have my support. And remember, either you're going to run your agency or the agency's going to run you. And the agency certainly ended up running Director Wray and probably people before him. Without objection, I'm going to put in this letter in the record, and this letter is sent to Director Wray December the 9th last year, calling for him and his deputies to step down, and it's titled, quote unquote, failures. Now I turn to Ranking Member Durbin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your commitment to the Judiciary Committee's longstanding bipartisan practice of vetting presidential nominees. A little history. The FBI dates back to the start of the last century, 1908, when then Attorney General Charles Bonaparte organized a special agent force. J. Edgar Hoover became director of the FBI in 1924 and led the Bureau for 48 years until his death in 1972. He is credited with professionalizing the Bureau and developing its investigative ability. However, with little or no oversight, Hoover also used the Bureau's investigative powers improperly. He infamously directed the FBI to spy on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Thurgood Marshall, and other civil rights leaders of the day. In 1975, the United States Senate created Frank Church's committee, and they disclosed widespread abuses by the FBI and other U.S. intelligence agencies. The Church Committee concluded these agencies had engaged in illegal surveillance, and as a result, quote, groups and individuals have been assaulted, repressed, harassed, and disrupted because of their political views, social beliefs, and their lifestyles. And quote, the intelligence agencies have served the political and personal objectives of presidents and other high officials. The Hoover era of the FBI, the Watergate scandal, and the findings of the Church Committee highlighted the risk of political interference in FBI investigations and led to significant, important reform. In 1976, Congress passed a law that limits the FBI director to a single term of 10 years, which was intended to insulate that position from political influence. And critically, we made the FBI director's appointment subject to the advice and consent of the Senate. That's why we're here today. Since 1935, the motto of the FBI has been fidelity, bravery, integrity. These qualities represent the Bureau's core values and the high standards that are expected of all of its employees, including the director of the FBI. After meeting with Mr. Patel and reviewing his record, I do not believe you meet this standard. Mr. Patel has neither the experience, the temperament, nor the judgment to lead an agency of 38,000 agencies and 400 field offices around the globe. During the time I've served on this committee, I've had the opportunity to consider 4 FBI director nominations.
Which means
each one was a Republican, and I voted for
way
all
too
of
long,
them.
buddy.
My concerns about the director of the FBI are not partisan. As much as Republicans claim that President Biden
Sounds like it's partisan
and
to
former
me.
Attorney General Garland weaponized the
You can voice
FBI,
that all you
let's
want.
look at the record.
But with your
President
spew and
Biden
his
kept the
partisans-
FBI director, a lifelong Republican who'd been appointed by President Trump. Contrast that with President Trump. Fired his first FBI director, James Comey, forced out his second FBI director, Chris Wray, for being insufficiently loyal. With Mr. Patel, however, obviously the president has found a loyalist. Mr. Patel's loyalty includes touting conspiracy theories that threaten and theories and threatened efforts at President Trump's
Spit it
enemies.
out, buddy. Stop.
How do we
reading
know
verbatim
Mr.
what
Patel's
people wrote
theories?
for you?
His beliefs,
Have your own thought.
what motivates him, what he really believes. He wrote it in a book. This book, Government Gangsters, I urge all of you to read before you cast a vote for
It's
this
a good
gentleman.
book. Everybody read it. It's a good read.
Mr.
Good
Patel
read.
has published at the back of this book a list of 60 people whom he calls, quote, members of the deep state, 60. This list includes many distinguished public servants who've dedicated
out,
their
baby.
lives
Call
to our
'em out.
nation. Among them
That's
are
why we want
Democrats and
Kash Patel.
Republicans, including former
He's
Trump
not afraid to call
administration
'em out.
officials
Let's get
like
it,
the
baby.
former
Let's get it.
Secretary of Defense
America
Esper.
first.
Then there is Mr. Patel's plan to quote, and I quote him, shut
He
down
is
the
a clown
FBI
and a
Hoover
fossil,
building
like
on
you
day
said.
one,
Clown and fossil.
reopen it the next day as a museum of the deep state. And he
I
has
see
said,
you out
quote,
there, armchair
we're
politics.
going to come after people in the media. We're going to come after you. Whether it's criminally or civilly, we're putting you all on notice. Does this
That's right.
sound like the kind of nonpartisan law enforcement professional
Yeah,
who should lead the
absolutely.
FBI?
Absolutely. If you're
Not to me.
committing crimes, you
This
need to
is
be held
someone who's
accountable.
left behind a trail of grievances throughout his life, lashing out at anyone who disrespects him or doesn't agree with him. Don't take it from me.
Disrespect me,
Listen
I'll
to
lash out
these
at you too.
Republicans who worked with him during the Trump's first administration. Attorney General Bill Barr, and I quote, I categorically oppose making Patel deputy FBI director. I said it would happen over my dead body. Patel had virtually no experience that would qualify him to serve at the highest level of the world's
He's got the most
preeminent law
experience to do
enforcement
this.
agency. National Security Advisor John Bolton. I didn't think he was qualified.
I don't think John
He
Bolton
demonstrated no policy aptitude at all. I was forced to hire him. President Trump's deputy national security advisor, Charles Kupperman.
Hire him, huh?
The idea that Kash Patel is
That's
going
exactly
to be
why
the
Kash Patel
FBI
wants to
director
be
is
the
appalling.
FBI director.
His
He
legal
doesn't want
career
people
is
to be
modest at
forced
best.
into
His
having an
ideas are
opinion.
ludicrous. CI Director Gina Haspel threatened to resign after President Trump proposed making Mr. Patel CIA deputy director. Defense Secretary Mark Esper said Mr. Patel lied about whether Nigeria had approved a hostage rescue operation, putting American lives at risk. But Mr. Patel would have us believe that all of these public servants, all Republicans, all from the first Trump administration, and apparently anyone else who's critical of him, are nothing but government gangsters and deep state members. Many of them have made his list of enemies. Just this week, CNN reported that during the Trump
Sounds like
administration,
they're government gangsters to me. Call them out for what
CIA
they are.
officials referred Mr. Patel to the Justice Department
You don't watch out
for
Durbin,
criminal
you might be on that
investigation
list too.
for sharing classified information without authorization. Last week, I asked the Justice Department and intelligence community for information on any criminal referrals relating to misconduct by Mr. Patel. I have yet to receive a response. Mr. Patel's record is clear. He traffics in debunked conspiracy theories that serve or benefit his political beliefs.
I don't believe that.
Let's start with January 6th, and
Let's
he
start
dedicates a
with
whole
January
chapter in this
6th.
book on January 6th.
Which you
That's
guys
something
have
that each
created
and every one
into
of us,
something that
as
didn't really
witnesses
happen.
to January 6th,
It wasn't as bad
have
as
our
you
own
guys
view
make
of
it
it.
out to be. But you guys want to make it to be
I'll be
something.
grateful always to
some
the
craziness.
Capitol Hill police
What about the
officers
coup that happened
who
on
risked
your own,
their lives
your
defending
own
me, members of Congress, and visitors
leader,
to the United States Capitol
Biden?
on that day.
You guys had a coup to take him out.
Mr. Patel posted on social media, quote, January 6th, never an insurrection. Cowards in uniform exposed. End of quote. Let me repeat that. Cowards in uniform exposed. Who was in the Capitol building on January 6th in a uniform? The Capitol Police were. Do you think they were cowards? Many of them risked their lives and some gave their lives in defense of this building.
Stop
How
saying
about the
that
DC police who
some
were here as
gave
well?
their lives.
They were in
One
uniform.
person died.
Cowards
One police officer
risking their
died.
lives as well. Some of them being battered and beaten
You guys are
by these
horrible with
mobsters
your
that came on into the Capitol.
narratives and lies.
And Mr.
Stop
Patel
lying. This
claims
is
that
why
the FBI
Patel is gonna
agency he
be
aspires to lead, get this
nominated
now, was planning
to clean up
January
these
6th for a
lies and
year.
messes.
He says the FBI was planning January 6th for a year. That's a quote. Mr. Patel has gone so far as to co-produce and sell musical recordings of a song performed by January 6 rioters in jail. Rioters who violently assaulted police officers.
Violently.
He has described this January 6 choir as, quote, political prisoners. Political prisoners. But at least six
That's
members
exactly what
pleaded
they are.
guilty
They
to
are
assaulting
political
law enforcement
prisoners.
officers
The
on January
Democratic
6th.
Party went after
All six have
Republicans
now been
who were
pardoned by
at
President Trump.
the rally. Do you think
Here are
any
some of
Democrats
those
are in jail
people
for
who
being
received
there?
blanket
Did they arrest
clemency
any
by
Democrats?
President Trump
Leave-
on his
leave-
first day
leave
in
a
office in the
comment
second
if you know
term.
of any Democrats who were
Julian
arrested.
Cater assaulted Capitol police officers with pepper spray, incapacitating 3 officers. Ryan Nichols sprayed pepper spray on multiple police officers. After the attack, Nichols posted on Facebook, and I quote, "So yes, I'm calling for violence and I will be violent." Jordan Mink struck officers, quote, aggressively with a long pole. He spat at officers and threw large items at them. Armed with a knife, Ronald Sandlin shouted at officers, quote, "You're going to die, get out of the way." Sandlin shoved officers when they tried to lock the doors to the Senate gallery. After breaching the Capitol, James McGrew struck an officer and lunged for his baton. McGrew also threw a wooden handrail with metal brackets at officers. I want to read a sentence.
So those
from
are
this
5
book
people who didn't
on the January
really
6th
do
experience.
violent acts. One spit, one
Just to
poked a
give you an
pole,
idea of
one
Mr.
threw
Patel's
something,
take
one
on what he
pushed somebody.
calls
That's not
a
that
haphazard
violent.
riot.
It sounds like chaos was ensuing, and people were
By
were
everything we could
in
see,
the way.
the crowd at the Capitol was unarmed or armed only with non-lethal objects like bottles, flagpoles, or bike racks.
That's right.
Mr. Patel has also peddled conspiracy theories for his own financial benefit, promoting a line of dietary supplements that claim to help people detox from COVID-19 vaccines.
If you're dumb enough to take the
During
vaccine.
my time on this committee, I was fortunate to get to know and work
Oh,
with
man.
former
Yeah, at least
FBI Director
he's got
Bob
something
Mueller.
to clean that shit out of
I
your
met him a
system.
few days after 9/11.
Because I'll
That's
tell
when he
you
took
what,
over the
I would
FBI.
never take that vaccine.
I trusted him.
I
I
know
worked
they
with
put
him. I
something
did everything
in
I
there
could to help
trying
him
to track me.
because I believed that the FBI was a critical central agency in restoring
Call
America's
me
confidence that we were
conspiracy theorist if
safe.
you want.
Bob Mueller
never
was an
gotten COVID.
extraordinary man. Oh, he was a Republican. Make no bones about it. He said it and admitted, and I knew it. He comes from the San Francisco area. And when he was in college and graduated, a friend of his a year ahead of him had enlisted in the Marine Corps and was killed in Vietnam. Bob was inspired to do the same thing, join up in the Marine Corps, and he did. And he was a first lieutenant in Vietnam. He received a Bronze Star with a Valor Pin, and he also received a Purple Heart. He was injured in battle. I read about his experience because after he was healed from that wound to his leg, he returned to combat. He was just that kind of fella. Regardless of party, he was a real American. He was a longtime federal prosecutor, a U.S. attorney, the head of the DOJ's criminal division, and acting deputy attorney general before he became head of the FBI. After 9/11, I worked with him, and we had a good relationship, a professional relationship. We didn't always see eye to eye, but I respected him so much
Thanks
for what
to
he had given to this
RSBN
country.
for allowing
In
us
this
to,
book, Mr. Patel
stream
calls
this
Director Bob Mueller,
the stream. I
quote,
really
a
appreciate
swamp
their,
creature.
allowing us to do
With
that.
all due respect, Mr. Patel, I've not worn the uniform of this country, and neither of you. To think that you would denigrate Bob Mueller's service to our country and call him a swamp creature is an indication of the depths your political views take you. The FBI plays a critical role in keeping America safe from terrorism, violent crime, and other threats. Our nation needs an FBI director who understands the gravity of this mission and is ready on day one, not someone who is consumed by his own personal political grievances. The American people deserve an FBI director focused on keeping our families safe from terrorism, drug trafficking, and violent crime, not this checklist of grievances we find in this book. Mr. Patel, your record makes it clear you're not that person. I yield.
Thank you, Senator Durbin. Before I call on Senator Tillis, I want to clear up something the way I see it, and I think I'm going to invite everybody that it can be cleared up. This business about what Mr. Patel said about cowards in uniform, it's a mischaracterization of what he actually said. So I'm going to invite you to listen to the interview Mr. Patel gave that linked to his post to hear what he actually said. When he said cowards in uniform, he was talking about senior Pentagon leadership failing to mobilize the National Guard to protect the Capitol. His comments had nothing to do with police. Mr. Patel made his comments while discussing an article in the New York Times exposing grave miscommunication between the Department of Defense and the DC National Guard. So I would encourage people to follow up on that. Senator Tillis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, ranking member, colleagues on the Senate Judiciary Committee. It's my honor to introduce Kash Patel, President Trump's nominee to be FBI Director. I've completed due diligence on his life and career, and I'm convinced that Kash possesses significant expertise and ironclad commitment to justice.
Sorry about the video.
And he's an outstanding choice to lead the FBI. Kash's parents are Indian immigrants of Gujarati ancestry. They're up here in the front row. The Gujarat state is a melting pot of religions, including Hinduism,
Morning, IT legends! Welcome to my vlog. Let me tell you, a Terrace AI co-pilot, best way for our team to...
where his parents, along with 7 brothers and sisters and their spouses and at least a half a dozen kids, lived under the same roof. His parents raised Kash in the Hindu faith, and they instilled in him the values of hard work and education. Kash is a devout Hindu,
stream and then restart it.
and consistent with his faith, he's shown respect to people of all faiths. Kash attended the University of Richmond, where he earned his bachelor's degree in criminal justice and history. He went to Pace University School of Law, where he earned his JD, and an international law certificate from the University College of London, Faculty of Laws. Kash began his career as a public defender in Florida, where he led or co-led more than 60 jury trials in state and federal court. Kash clearly demonstrated a devotion to upholding the rule of law and defending the rights of individuals. Kash led the defense of Jose Buitrago in United States versus Buitrago, a high-profile case in Florida in 2015. Buitrago was one of the Colombian nationals arrested in a major drug bust involving Operation Backrim. Kash and his co-counsel successfully argued that key evidence was withheld by the prosecution, leading to Buitrago's release. I suspect some of Kash's disdain for prosecutorial misconduct stemmed from this experience. Kash was hired as a senior counsel on the House Permanent Select Subcommittee on Intelligence Committee, in 2017.